Lizz Winsread is here, and she's just out of the clink, the big house. You've been arrested.
I know.
I
went to white lady jail.
What happened?
So my organization, Abortion Access Front, and myself, wanted to go down to. We go to DC for every Supreme Court. We try to make noise. We try to, just do actions in the streets. And we did a massive action with, if you saw any media, you saw huge Supreme Court justice heads that were lined up. That was us. And we did the People's Supreme Court, where we had people who've had abortions, people who fund abortions, and people who provide abortions, sort of testify before the court in the street. And so then we did a march and just sat in the middle of the road until the cops came and got us. There was literally 44 of us, and there was 100 cops. And just to let you know how frustrating this all was. I mean, I knew I was going to get arrested because I sat in the street, but up the street where the anti-abortion protesters were, there was at least 3 people who were at the insurrection that I have videotape of, who walk free. And it was maddening to watch the women sit, to watch this massive police presence. But then also, people were like, "I'm so proud of you, so brave." And I was like, I knew nothing was going to happen to me. I'm a white person. I was not ever at any point afraid that something's going to happen to me. They put us in outdoor pens, and they held us so long that they were like, "Do you guys need to go to the bathroom?" And we're like, "Yeah." And so then they just escorted us into the Russell Senate offices to go to the bathroom, as opposed to the last time there was a massive rally in Washington where they stormed the Capitol. We were invited in to use the restroom.
Did you?
I know.
Did you commit any vandalism there inside the Capitol?
I did not commit any vandalism inside the Capitol, but we did try to do a projection onto the Supreme Court that was promptly shut down within moments. The cops were like, "Nope." And we were like, wow.
How many organizations were in DC outside the court of this argument, for this argument? How many kind of, what language are we using? I want to use pro-human women's reproductive rights.
How about abortion advocates? Because there's nothing wrong with abortion. There's nothing wrong with saying abortion. There's nothing wrong for advocating for abortion.
You're not actually allowed to say abortion on this show.
Okay. Then I gotta go. My hat says abortion on your show.
That's okay. That's fine. For those of you listening,
I have to tell you, Pete, it was a shit show. It was a shit show because I'm just going to say it, that the activism around abortion has been timid, has not been, it is dire. We're about to lose Roe v. Wade. And we did not plan accordingly. I think way too many people who aren't on the ground as much as Abortion Access Front are every day do not understand the profundity of the anti-abortion movement and how dangerous they are, and that they have ties to militias and white supremacy and the anti-abortion, and the insurrectionist movement. And so we weren't in charge of planning the official rally. And when we got down there to do our actions, the anti-abortion movement had taken both sides of the street, had blocked off the entire Supreme Court so that the pro-choice rally was held behind the anti-abortion extremists who were using bullhorns screaming, "These people want the constitutional right to put babies in blenders. These whores are going to have," all the whole time. And our side has flowery signs that are like, my choice. It's like, no. Like, that is not the battle we're fighting. That is not these people are extremist terrorists, and they're in charge of they want to be in charge of our bodies. They get people elected to state legislatures, statewide office. They're not fringe. They are when Marjorie Taylor Greene says we are the base, this is who she's talking about.
Yes.
This is who she's talking about.
Yeah.
And it was
as opposed to the fringe. I know the quote you're talking about. I played it in the podcast. She said, we're not the fringe. We're the base. That's what you're saying. Right.
Yes. Yeah. And so, knowing that these people there was we were outnumbered 10-1.
Really?
Yes.
Can I just say what I've been wanting to say, and I can only say it to you? Because I know that you'll scold me or you'll reject me, whatever. Like, I'm somewhat surprised with a certain lack of energy in the kind of new feminist movement. And this seems to be like evidence of it. You're there, you're organizing, you created a whole fucking organization. You're so committed to this with all of your energy and resources for years now. But I don't know. I feel like I want to see more, and I feel so uncomfortable saying that as a dude. But so I only say it to you. I'm
going to say to you as a dude, and I really love you, but I almost want to say fuck you, because I'm so sick of dudes who care who don't show up. Where were you? Why didn't you come?
Fair enough.
You come. You know what? The anti-abortion side has so many men who help do all this shit, and who you don't need to fucking speak. We need people to hold massive signs. We need people to stand with us. We need people to understand that and care and actually say, just because I can't get pregnant doesn't mean that I don't completely see the terrorizing erosion destroying the lives of people I love. Why weren't men there? Where was everybody? Where are the progressives ever? They're never there. They're just never there. When we send emails, I beg, and if we don't, what it looks like, what the optics are all the time is people, families, men, women, children coming out to support, and I'm air quoting the fuck out of this, life. And the other side is women who want to kill babies. And so unless everybody decides that this is a human right that they will go and defend and be there with, so that if we're supposedly, if 70% of Americans supposedly think Roe v. Wade should be the law of the land, then people need to stand up for it. It's not enough to just say, that's terrible. That's nuts.
There's a disconnect there. I take your scolding, and I will show up the next place you tell me to be at.
Okay. But I'm just saying, like, that you are a good guy, and men say this to me constantly. And then when I say, where were you? They're like,
well, I was super busy on another independent action, napping. Mm-hmm. Like, no, I like what you're saying. And I more importantly, like, I just keep thinking about, because I don't have anything else, The Handmaid's Tale and The Commanders. And like, when you say that there's all these men organizing on the other side, I watched the interview with the Mississippi governor over the weekend on Meet the Press. That motherfucker is organized and crazy, ready to criminalize abortion. Like Gilead, let's go.
26 other states. There's 26 other governors who cannot wait. They're not all men, but they cannot wait. And I think that's it. When you look at what's going on is like the shoulders everything at the end of the day falls on the shoulders of Black women because they just always have. And so it's just like they show up, it's like for everything, all the time, every time.
Hmm.
And it's not as I scold you, Pete, and I'm like, where are the men? I mean, I really do feel that, but also like, how is it that all the women that voted for Biden 10 months ago in Virginia just went and voted for, mini me Trump because their lives didn't change in 9 months? There's a fickle nature to privileged people that feels very disconcerting. It's like they don't know how process works. They don't know how anything works. I want my change now. And, it's pretty disconcerting. So, I mean, like, I'm just like a little bit ragey, which you probably didn't expect. But
No, I don't. Stop it. First of all, my daughter had a
abortion.
Not yet. Yeah, but I've got her. I get jokes I can't make. It's her life, not mine. It's so hard as a comic to like. I have to ask her for permission to every joke that I say into a microphone. She never says no, but I don't do it without her asking. No, I was gonna say she has a manicure appointment and it got canceled and she's mad. Like the point you're making about privilege and wanting and getting things pretty quickly, like instantaneously.
Mhm.
And so changing your opinions on politics and activism, and it's so convenient and so easy. So what are you asking for? Like, I mean, you already kind of touched on it, but given the fact that what we saw happen last week at the Supreme Court, pretty much every scholar across the board is predicting the same thing. What are they predicting?
That Roe is going away. Robin Marty has written an incredible book. She's an author. She's an amazing activist called, A Post-Roe America. And I encourage everyone to read it. It's a great book. And she moved from Minnesota to Alabama. And she is, really decided to go where it's hard. And she's helping run a clinic and a fund.
Robin Marty?
Uh-huh.
Never heard of her. I'll interview her.
She's so great. You must interview her. But it's, what I'm saying is this is going to take away the rights of over 100 million people to access care. And it's going to force people into pregnancies. And when somebody tells you that they no longer want to be pregnant, believe them and honor that, because forcing parenting on anyone and forcing pregnancy on anyone is terrifying. For Amy Coney Barrett to say, well, people can just have a baby and drop it off at a firehouse like it's an episode of This Is Us. Like deciding that pregnancy doesn't harm a body, that pregnancies aren't dangerous, and that people should be forced to be potting soil. I want to be really clear with your listeners is that adoption isn't the alternative to abortion. Adoption is the alternative to someone who doesn't want to parent. Abortion is the alternative to someone who doesn't want to be pregnant. And those two things are very real. And we need to really think about that. And so, no one owes someone a kidney, an organ, or a child if somebody else would like one in their lives. Sorry, that's just not how it works. We're not just conveniences for people who don't have. And that's sort of what Amy Coney Barrett said. And it was really disheartening to hear that just framed in a way that was so cavalier.
Yeah.
Not to mention, why don't you talk to some firehouses who really are into putting out fires and not taking care of infants, or just like these drop-off places. I mean, let's all go drop babies off at her house. Okay. Can we do that? I just want to mail her a bunch of rubber fetuses.
Did you see that guy that used a rubber arm for the vaccination?
That guy's my hero.
He's-
Next level.
you gotta respect.
Gaslighting. Like, you are so dumb, Steve Austin. Like, what are you doing? That is so insane. I think he brought his also rubber brain.
Yeah.
And his Joe Rogan doctor coat.
He should sell those.
He should.
Oh, that's great merch.
Joe Rogan doctor coat.
What other? I was gonna ask you about any other arguments that were made at the Supreme Court last week that, or questions asked that you wanted to comment on, and you brought up the Amy Coney Barrett.
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple things. John Roberts, who is so desperate to not have his legacy be meet the man who shredded the Constitution, that he was saying, like, is 15 weeks, it's so close to 24 weeks. Is there really any difference? And it's like, yes. Like, first of all, the fact that this keeps coming up, it just shows that people fundamentally don't understand how pregnancy works, how pregnancies develop. Also, why people have abortions later in pregnancy. Oftentimes it's because our country has created such a fucked up way to access abortion in early pregnancy that you have to raise money. You can't use your insurance. The closest clinic to you is states away. You don't have childcare. You have to wait 24, 48, 72 hours before you can have the service. You can't take time off work. You're a single parent. Like, there's a myriad of blockages to just access abortion. And when people say things like, how come they don't have later abortions in Europe? I was like, because you can get an abortion at fucking Chick-fil-A in Europe. You can get pills anywhere. You can get an abortion. If you want your abortion, you just go get your abortion. And the later abortions in Europe are reserved for people who have very problematic pregnancies that are endangering the person who's pregnant. And so that's when they have them. So don't act like, well, Europe's very moral. No, Europe is fucking like crazy, having a great time, passing out all the birth control, and then saying, like, you need an abortion, go get an abortion. And then take the rest of your day to go get some lunch or have your nails done.
And you'll have time because you have childcare.
Yes.
For your other kid, or universal pre-K, or paid leave, or universal health care. I mean,
and also you learned about birth control and sex when you were in school. I mean, like, you listen to these people, it's like, sex is dirty, sex is evil, sex is dangerous, sex is wrong, save it for the one you love. Like, what are you talking about? What is happening?
Like, do you think, I just want to ask you about my daughters and their sexuality. I just have to wait.
Have them ask me. Stay out of their lives. They don't want you.
I know, but I gotta
listen to me. Listen to me.
Go ahead.
You can talk to them about sex and let them cringe, and you do it one time. And then you have trusted people in your life who they go to. And I said this to my sisters. I said, has your daughter ever, because my sisters were all like, my kids are going to come to me. And I'm like, maybe they're not. Has your daughter ever walked out of a dressing room and said, do I look sexy in this? The answer is no, because daughters want to have independence, want to be, children, but also are coming into their own sexual age.
Too late.
Parents aren't always the people that the kids want to go to. Sometimes they want privacy.
I talk about it with them a lot.
And do they talk to you about birth control? And what do they say?
We talk about it all. Really?
And they're comfortable?
In detail. Yeah, because I started early and I plowed through it. I think I wonder if you'll make an exception for a certain type of comedian. There was this weird thing where, like, there were things in my act that were about sex and sexuality, and I hate that men can't talk about their daughters. And my best friend's a pediatrician, and he always talks about his sex with his kids, and because they ask. And so I've been talking about it with my daughters, and I just refuse to allow it to be weird. I don't force them.
I think if they I bet they initiate it though, right? You're not like walking in, bringing it up. Like I know people who like, well, I brought my daughter a vibrator and I put it on her bed. It's like, you know what? You just sometimes don't let somebody bring it up to you and then be super open about the conversation. I think, unless it's the initial conversation about learning about sex, like, I think that's fine. But I just think bringing it up as a topic, like, hey, how's the fucking going? Like, no. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like parental, like concern and sex and relationships and emotion, like all of that is parenting. It's when it goes into that friend way of looking at it, where like you're talking about it and it's like, hey, you're gonna go out and get some dick, like, no, like don't. I feel like that's not the conversation.
I haven't said that, but I will tell you exactly what I said as soon as I press stop. So
okay, great.
It's their story, not mine, right? So
seems like you've inserted yourself into it.
I have, but it's not no doubt about it, but it's not for me to tell it while I'm recording is all I'm saying.
No, please don't. Yeah. Please don't. Your daughters would be mortified.
Yeah. So getting back to the issue in the Supreme Court, was there anything else that was said that you want to react to? Because I like your reaction in addition to, the con law scholar. I like the activist. Yeah.
I mean, I think Kavanaugh.
You're a big Kavanaugh supporter from the start.
Oh, the amount of shots that Tobin and Squee and Brett and I were doing, epic, just epic.
I
know Squee. When you go back and watch the Kavanaugh hearings and he's crying, 65 women wrote letters saying, you're a good man. You're a good man. It's so gross.
Yeah, Amy Chua.
He was trying to say, and the point that he was trying to make was slightly confusing to me, but he was like, we're not in the business of being pro-choice or pro-life. People don't look to the court for, it's like, since when?
Well,
are you not in the business of anything, you political hack?
Can I give you my interpretation?
Yeah.
He was talking about precedent, and he talked about, first of all, in his confirmation hearing, he basically said, it's settled law, we're not going to overturn precedent. And then last week he was like, named all of the cases that have been overturned. But Liz, you mentioned this earlier, and I think this is the most important point. This is different because those cases were not taking away a right. In this case, they're taking away a right. That's why this is so much different than all of the list of precedents that had changed on other things, like on, slavery and women's suffrage. Do I have it right? Is that what you heard?
You're exactly correct. He listed every case that was overturned because it was wrong, and this is it wasn't taking away a right. It was granting a right.
Right.
And this is taking away a right. And, Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett said Roe was precedent, but wasn't super precedent because it keeps coming up. But Kavanaugh, Gorsuch, John Roberts, they all said that Roe v. Wade is the law of the land. And, Susan Collins can eat a dick because she was the one who was like so much like, I talked to him and he told me that Roe v. Wade is law of the land. And if Susan Collins would have Googled anything, she would have seen that it was Brett Kavanaugh who wrote the dissenting opinion when that undocumented minor minor was seeking abortion through all legal means. She had her own money. All she needed to do was have somebody open the door so she could go and get her abortion. And it was Brett Kavanaugh who said the state shouldn't be facilitating abortion because they had to open the door of the fucking facility and let her go have her abortion. She had a lawyer that was going to take her there, Get her
That would
abortion.
never, ever be the issue if you looked at it like healthcare.
Right. Ever. No. People
What would
get
be
healthcare all the time. Incarcerated people, people who are detained, they get healthcare all the time. And Brett Kavanaugh, Susan Collins's boyfriend, was like, I mean, it's just so disgusting that this is how we live, and with head in the sand. And she's like, I guess I'd codify Roe v. Wade. I mean, there are things we can do. The Senate could pass the Women's Health Protection Act. People need to be paying attention to their state legislatures and not electing these cretins and their governors so that these laws don't get passed in the first place. Making sure that your Secretary of State is not some lunatic who's not going to certify an election. Like, this shit matters. So, and also just coming out and standing with people and showing what the majority of people who support abortion access in America looks like. It has to be families. It has to be, both, all genders. It has to be everyone out saying that I value the fundamental freedoms of all people. And the 14th Amendment says that you cannot intrude upon those freedoms. And the anti-abortion side is actually trying to flip the script on the 14th Amendment and giving it to the fetus. Because let's be very clear, Pete, every single time you give a fetus a right, you are taking the right away from a woman or a person who can get pregnant. The only way you can give fetuses rights is by taking them away from people living outside of the womb. That's it.
Geez, I'm not even sure I've quite heard it put that way. And that's the game.
That's the game. That's the game.
Giving the fetus right the point where they can drive in HOV lanes.
Yeah. You know what? What the hell is that about? I mean, and this is the whole thing. When we talk about personhood, like, there's very hard conversations that we need to have. First of all, pregos in the can I just drive in the HOV lane if I just had unprotected sex and I'm just loaded up with a bunch of sperm? Who knows? There's a baby in there. I don't know. That's just like, I am just like cruising. I don't know. Like, are you going to then start child support? Does life begin at broken condom? Like, is that when child support starts? Oh, the condom broke, give me money. Like, what kind of plan do you have here? But personhood, if you have laws where somebody gets in a car accident and hits a pregnant person and they lose their pregnancy, there's states where you can be prosecuted for manslaughter for that, right? So that means that you're giving personhood to a pregnancy. When we talk about bodily autonomy and we talk about what that is, it's like that part is very, very hard, because it's like, why would that be? If we can abort something that is clearly, science says, is potential life, is not a person, is potential life at any stage, then why do we have these why are we criminalizing miscarriage sometimes? Why are we having HOV lanes for pregnant people? That's literally saying Roe v. Wade isn't the law of the land. Personhood is the law of the land, and that people begin at conception. Right. And that just isn't real.
That's the game, and that's the game I think is
the game. And nobody wants to talk about it. We never want to have conversations about like who it harms, who it affects, because they sound cruel and they sound terrible and it makes us sound callous. But like, I want a nation where we value all pregnancy outcomes, where if somebody's 15 and gets pregnant and says abortion isn't for me, and I'm 15 and I want to have this baby, we should be a society that helps that person raise that kid. And we should also be a society for somebody who is 35 and has 2 kids and says, I cannot have another kid. I don't have the capacity for it. And I need to have an abortion. We should honor that too. Until we decide that somebody's pregnancy outcomes we value them all because they've made a decision, because for whatever reason, it's a mess. And we're giving the government some sort of agency over us. And that is not only unconstitutional, it reduces us out of humanity and into chattel status. And that's just true.
Can I ask you a petty question?
Yeah.
Petty political question.
How much do I weigh?
Huh?
How much do I weigh? What are you going to ask me? No, you can ask me a petty political question.
Well, I do need to mention my band Loaded Up with Sperm is playing this Friday, and we're playing our hit single Broken Condom.
Excellent.
Yeah, so I hope everybody comes out.
At the Weenie Garage?
What's that?
Are you playing at the Weenie Garage?
We're playing at the Lost Horizon in Syracuse.
Okay, great.
So
coincidence.
my go-to. No, my petty question is one more about politics. I just want to get your take on it. And by the way, if you think this is a bullshit question and you hate it being given any air, then please don't be shy. Not that you are.
Oh, I'm so shy. I told you to fuck off 3 minutes into the interview, and I'm still here.
In June, there will be a decision on the arguments heard last Tuesday. The question a lot of people are debating is if Roe is overturned, which predictions are it will be, what will that do to the women's movement? What will that do to Democrat progressive movement and the midterms? Shitty question, good question, humble it with an answer. I think
it's always a good question because we are not prepared for what that world looks like. Just to give you an indication of what the world is right now.
Yeah. Paint it.
With this Texas ban still in effect, that affects 27 million people of reproductive age, right? It's 27 million, right?
Currently in effect.
Not being able to get an abortion ostensibly in Texas.
How's that vigilante part of it going?
Oh, I think it's really great. I think that any kind of pussy comitatus that's just out there hunting down people, helping, feels great. I feel like deputize any rando to just decide to do it, I mean,
I feel the worst. I feel the worst for the Uber driver.
Here's the thing that was interesting. When that case went before SCOTUS, and Clarence Thomas, who's asked 6 questions in his entire fucking report, says to the Solicitor General of Texas, who also wrote the law, he's very invested in everyone's vagina. I mean, I can't even believe people can carry pregnancies. There's so many politicians in uteruses. It's like, how is there even room to gestate a pregnancy?
What's crazy about that is I was having sex with my wife, who of 20 years. And I was like, what is going on? And several politicians were in there.
Yeah, they're yelling, they're just running away from ice storms. They're doing a lot of things in there. Trying to stay warm. Ted Cruz, that's what Ted Cruz is doing. He just wants to stay warm after his ticket to Mexico got revoked. Anyway, what was I saying?
Clarence Thomas, Texas.
Oh, Clarence Thomas, thank you. So he asked the solicitor, he said, so why do you think it's constitutional to deputize someone to, harm, to arrest somebody who's helping somebody else get an abortion? And this douchebag said, and I'm paraphrasing. I think I've been paraphrasing pretty much the whole time. This douchebag said, well, sometimes when people hear about somebody else wanting to have an abortion, it's as painful to them as it is the person having the abortion.
Well, that's fair.
And Clarence Thomas actually basically said, get the fuck out of here with that, bitch. What, no. Like, he was like, really? So what I don't, when the Texas case comes down, and I do believe the Texas, they will, they won't uphold Texas, not because of the abortion part, but because of the bounty hunting part, which is sad. don't think as a victory. It's just because the hammer's going to come down on the 15-week ban out of Mississippi. But like, all these hot takes also that are going around. There was a New York Times just indulging, and so is the Washington Post. Crackpots. This woman wrote, maybe the Texas law is just a really good first step.
Wait, as editorials, as columns?
Yeah, as editorials. Maybe it's a good first step, because at 6 weeks, a child begin developing a jaw. And I was like, a jaw? Maybe if you're Jay Leno, there's no jaw on a 6-week-old fetus. It's the size of a lentil. There's no jaw there. It would be all jaw.
What? Where was that? In the Washington
New York Times? The New York Times op-ed.
Jesus.
Yeah, and you're just like, what are you talking about? And then the Washington Post put some massive article about this maternity ranch in Texas where they lure in women who are looking for abortions and talk them out of it, and then have them do free labor on their ranch for a year, as long as they adhere to the Christian values and marriage is between one man and one woman and all this other shit. And I'm sorry, free labor for a year and indoctrination into religion. We have names for that shit. And I think we abolished it in 1865. So
I'm sorry, but they're actually a sponsor. Mary's Maternity
Ranch, the Hidden Valley Ranch.
The Hidden Valley Ranch.
Maternity Ranch.
Reminds me I have to do my live read.
Oh, hello. From the Hidden Valley Maternity Ranch, you can get your free pajamas or whatever you have.
There must be some kind of bonus, some attraction to.
Well, and what's happening so much, and I think this is another reason why I get so mad at all the hot takes from people who are just discovering all of the hidden horribleness around abortion bans, and a lot of our friends who are progressives I don't know where they've been. I don't know how much cotton they've had in their ears, but if you'd only had people writing more columns for you about this, or you had people on shows more to talk about it, you wouldn't be surprised when these things happen. Because what happens is people write these editorials and people write articles and they do featured things, and they sound like college freshmen who got one course in something, and then they write a piece and then they wonder why people are mad. It's like, we've been saying this, and also there's so many layers that are extra that you don't even understand. We were begging people. We have a whole research arm of Abortion Access Front that is dedicated to tracking anti-abortion extremism and finding the intersections between the white supremacists and the militias. And because of our research, we were able to identify 30 anti-abortion extremists at the insurrection, footage, all this stuff, and reported them to the FBI. I wrote an op-ed about it. I did not get one media hit. No one reached out to say, well, that's interesting. Wow. It's like, yeah, they're there. And I see one of these monsters, featured on Meet the Press. It's like, look at the Christian extremists who are out there changing the way they do business. And it's like, you didn't say extremist, I said it. But like this guy, Ken Peters, who's like a literal monster. And they're normalizing this stuff. And it's really a problem. So we need to be vigilant, because in June, what's going to happen is first of all, there's a couple things we need to just, in our own vernaculars, there's no abortion debate. There is people who are trying to end access to abortion. It shouldn't be up for debate whether or not someone can have an abortion. So stop acting like there is a legitimate other side. There is not. 2, there are no safe states, because the states who actually are providing access to care right now, I didn't even get to my point I was going to make about Texas, which I'll make now, is the states that are surrounding Texas right now have 6 to 8 week waiting times to access care because of the overflow from Texas. People are traveling all the way to Maine from Texas to get abortions. Every state that provides access to care is taxed. There's not new clinics opening up. And so anything that you consider or think of as a safe state, and I'm flying my air quotes around like a goddamn cigarette. If 26 states ban abortion, no one's going to have access to care. There's going to be overload. And so,
You mean because those people who want abortion in the 26 states where it's been criminalized or banned
are going to have to go someplace else. That's like around 127 million people. Listen to me. 127 million people are going to be potentially looking.
I've got it's time for a segment we called Another Ignorant Medical Question with Pete Dominic.
Okay. Oh, good.
What about that abortion pill?
So the abortion pill is amazing. The abortion pill is safe. The abortion pill has been politicized. Yet again, it's the method of choice in Europe, invented in France, came over here in the 90s. The abortion pill, when it came here, was immediately politicized, put on an FDA list of medications that are so dangerous that you have to have them administered by a doctor. P.S. It's safer than aspirin to take.
How does it? Should I be asking somebody else? I should have. But how does it work? Like how?
It's simple. It's simple how it works. So it's a 2-regimen pill. The first pill stops the fetus from detaching from the uterine wall. So it detaches from the uterine wall. And then within 24 hours, you take a regimen of 4 pills that you put under your tongue and you let them dissolve, like right here in your thing, you let them dissolve. And then what those pills do is expel the pregnancy from your body. So it's like having a heavy period. You can take this pill between 6 weeks and 10 weeks in the United States. In Europe, they go to 12 weeks, but in the United States, the FDA approved it for 10 weeks. And you should be able to get it from a pharmacist, get it by mail, get it. It's absolutely so safe. And it's very great to be able to have an abortion in the privacy of your home. It's like having a heavy period, and you have some cramping, and that is it. That is it.
So if that's the case,
yes,
then
we gotta get it off the list. It's called a REMS list. I can't remember. It's an acronym for something. We have to get medication abortion off this list, and we have to get it so that you can get it by mail. And
they're not allowed that in those states. But how can they stop it? How? Like I literally thought about you this weekend as I was out in my lawn winterizing the garden. And
screaming,
I said,
get off.
Huh?
Screaming, get off my lawn. You were thinking of me?
No, I was just sitting there thinking fondly about you because as I told you, like I'm emailing you and your publicist today, and they're like, what do you want to talk with Liz about? I was like, fuck it, just put her on. But I go, I want to talk with her about how she's going to prevent Gilead from being created here. But no, I was thinking about you. I was like, Liz and her creativity, she and her organization, they're going to find a way to get the pill to all of these states.
And that's what everyone should be thinking about right now is how do we access and help get medication?
I mail weed all over the country because I grow it, and I say it here on the podcast because no one gives a fuck. You can mail that pill in a package of Sour Patch, whatever you want to do. Like, there's no way they can stop that medication. That was my thought, and I thought about you. I was like, Liz is going to get medicine to people in these places where they can't leave.
Yes, and this is very important, Pete. And this is a very, 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 very important thing. And I want everyone to listen up, and you can Google it, and it's true. If you take medication abortion, right? And sometimes, Pete, like everything, sometimes it is 90% effective and you have to go in and have a D&C, to clean, like your body didn't expel the entire pregnancy. And when I say entire pregnancy, it's like half of a lentil and basically the tissue in your uterus, right? So if you need to go in and have that done, let's say you were having cramping and you didn't know what it was and you were scared and you didn't want anyone to know you took the abortion pills. Abortion pills are not detected in your system. They do not know you took them. There are people in countries where abortion is illegal that take abortion pills all the time.
Oh, really?
Yes. Nobody would ever know you took abortion pills. If you were just like, I'm cramping, I'm having I don't know what's going on, I'm having bleeding, they would treat your bleeding and nobody needs to know you took that abortion pill. No one. Because when it happens, and it's super rare, you can mostly just go to a clinic and say, I've taken the abortion pill and I'm having extra bleeding. Can you do an exam and make sure that
if you go, I'm trying to get ahead of you here. If you go to the clinic in Texas where abortion's illegal in Mississippi and you say, I took the pill blank.
You can't do it there. Not in Mississippi. You can in Mississippi because it's 15 weeks.
But
6 weeks place. Nope. No. And here's what's in. I'm glad you brought this up.
I still have a question. To be clear,
stay with me on this. Stay with me on Texas. So, and the reason you can't is because you can take the abortion. Well, Texas just passed a law now where you can't take the abortion pill after 7 weeks. So that's basically saying, abortion be damned.
Yeah, but
whatever. But so what's been happening in Texas is people are scared to treat miscarriages because if they help with miscarriage management and that pregnancy is over 6 weeks, could somebody say you were assisting an abortion? Yes, they could sue you. And so the thing about this law in Texas, which I don't know if everybody understands, is anybody can bring a lawsuit against you no matter what. People could say that you and I were talking and they felt that you were going to conspire to help people get abortions in Texas. And then they could bring a case against you. And if they did, and you had to get a lawyer, even if you won, you can't get restitution for your legal fees. And so doctors are terrified. They don't want to have a malpractice or a lawsuit on their record.
Right.
And physicians can't help some. Physicians are very scared to help somebody if there's the hint that they'll be prosecuted for.
There is a very trusted listener of the podcast who's an ER physician in Texas. He knows who he is, and hopefully he's listening, and I want to talk to him more about it. But just to be clear, though, you're saying that pill, that course of medication, the abortion pill, is this called?
Yep, it's called abortion pill. You take 2 dosage, mifepristone and misoprostol.
In a very small percentage of cases, there is a situation where you would need further care, and therein lies the concern in those states where it's been criminalized.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's only really Texas, because let's also be clear that the abortion ban in Texas was struck down in 12 other states because it's wholly unconstitutional. And the bounty piece was to fuck with people so they couldn't sue the state. That is why they orchestrated it so brilliantly that nobody even understands how you, if you can't sue the state, who are you exactly suing? And if nobody brings a case before the state, then everyone's just sitting in paralysis, afraid to help anybody access getting an abortion or providing them, right, for fear that somebody will bring a case against them. So it's this law that's sitting there on the books that has just created a environment of fear to provide the care.
All right, I'll let you go, but what is the course of action that you are prescribing right now?
Well, the course of action, there's many things. First of all, please stay on top of what is happening. And one really fun way to do that is I have launched a talk show that is hilarious and funny with experts and activists who are coming on to talk about all these laws on a weekly basis. what we can do. People giving you tools of where you can help, not just donating money, but also where you can put your body, boots on the ground. Join the fight, be present to show that you care about the rights of people who don't look like you, so that we can say we are the party of family values. We are the people who don't want our children murdered in school by guns. We do not want our children murdered by cops. We want our kids to live healthy lives, and we want people who are pregnant to be able to thrive. Like, we are the pro-life party. So start taking that back and doing that. And, you know, when you vote, when you meet politicians, try calling up your state legislators and saying, not only your keeping your job depends not only on you voting against this shit, but proposing proactive legislation that
Right.
makes this procedure accessible.
And
my
also,
shows in Minnesota, because I'm doing a year in review show that is fucking hilarious.
yes, that's all this information is in today's show notes. You can also go to aafront.org and make a donation to Liz's organization.
Yes, do it. It's the end of the year. Do it.
But I do have to ask you one uncomfortable question. I see on Twitter you have, like, really strangely come out in support of Dr. Oz for Pennsylvania Senate. Why Oz? He's running as a Republican. How do you defend yourself?
Well, I think that I retweeted with a supportive message. Nobody likes you.
Made me laugh really hard. I'm not gonna lie to you, I think I read that tweet on the can this morning. Laughed real hard. Sometimes the simplest joke is the most obvious one.
I agree. I also am a big fan of "You Seem Nice."
Yes. Laurie Kilmartin uses that a lot. I feel like you've used that. I love that. And you wrote, and Dr. Oz tweets, "I'm here to promise you one thing. I'm going to help reignite the divine spark inside every American and empower us to live better lives," which is such a lofty and amazing thing for him to commit to. And you wrote, quoting that tweet, "No one likes you." And you know what, Liz? Nobody does like Dr. Oz, but a bunch of, like, people who, like, stay at home and watch this dumb show. And I feel like Oprah should apologize for him.
I feel like Oprah needs to come forward and say, "I made a horrible mistake. I thought it was kind of cool when he would bring out, like, diseased organs next to clean organs."
Right. He seemed.
But I'm like, at this point, I'm like, Joe Rogan's a better doctor than this fucking guy.
That's not untrue.
You know.
Liz Winsread, everybody. Thank you
Thanks
so
for having me and my rage. We feel really good.
I love you. Thank you.